In his 2021 trade to the Brooklyn Nets, 2018 MVP James Harden made headlines not just for his trade requests, but for his surprising weight gain and weight loss before and after the trade saga. At the time, a lot of speculations were made about how Harden had mysteriously reduced weight. Therefore, in today's video, we'll talk about whether the shooting guard wore a fat suit to force his move to the Nets.
James Harden, a souring relationship with a front office, wanting out of a franchise. It's going to end with James Harden putting on a fat suit, right?
Fat suit pictures. Due to his reputation for living a luxurious lifestyle and his love of strip clubs, James Harden's appearing large had become a regular concern. However, in late 2020, a picture circulating online of Harden caused more worries. The 2018 MVP had just demanded a trade and turned up to camp late. However, his huge size at the time was the major talking point in the preseason. He had a protruding belly and was quite noticeably overweight in his preseason debut. At the time, it was clear how Harden felt about the Rockets. He wanted to leave and had lost interest in any long-term plan. But what point was he trying to prove by getting that fat? Was it the desperation for a ring? Desperate to win a ring. During the 2020 offseason, it was clear the All-Star guard wanted to leave, and the reason wasn't just the change in coaching staff or the shakeup in the front office. At 31, it was obvious he was desperate for a ring, and with the Rockets, he had realized he would never be able to win it. He had gone from having a backcourt of Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, to John Wall, Christian Wood, and DeMarcus Cousins, who were now past their prime. The Rockets were asking Harden to make do with players who had been out of competitive game action for 2 years. And to top it off, they made a lot of changes to the coaching staff, front office, and players on the roster. James Harden last went to the NBA Finals in 2012 when the Oklahoma Thunder were defeated in 5 games by the Miami Heat. During his time with the Rockets, he led them to the 2015 Western Conference Final, but the Rockets lost the series 4-1 to the Golden State Warriors, despite Harden averaging 28.4 points on 46.7% shooting, 6.4 assists, and 7.8 rebounds per game. In 2018, he again led them to the Western Conference Final, where they fell to the Golden State Warriors after a 7-game series. In that series, James Harden averaged 28.7 points on 41.5% shooting, 6 assists, and 5.6 rebounds per game. In his last playoffs with the Rockets, he led them to the Western Conference semifinals, losing the series 4-1 to the Los Angeles Lakers. Interestingly, in both cases where he led the Rockets to the Western Conference Final and in his last playoff series with the Rockets, he lost all of them to the eventual winners. So, given the Rockets' trade and reshuffling in 2020, there was no denying that despite James Harden needing a competitive backcourt, the Houston Rockets weren't ready to give him one, and he wanted out. He wanted out from the team he had spent 9 years with. Years with the Rockets. In October 2012, James Harden was traded to the Houston Rockets after failing to agree to a contract extension with the Oklahoma City Thunder. Harden was left to lead the team after he had spent his time with the Thunder supporting players like Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Rockets general manager Daryl Morey even called Harden a foundational player and predicted he would become Houston's star player. And surprisingly, he lived up to the expectations. Just 4 days after the trade, James Harden recorded 37 points, a career-high 12 assists, 6 rebounds, 4 steals, and 1 block in a win over the Detroit Pistons, becoming the first-ever NBA player to score 37 or more points while registering a double-digit assist total in his team debut. 2 days later, he scored 45 points against the Atlanta Hawks, making his total of 82 points the most scored by a player in his first 2 games with a team in NBA history. Just 2 games in with the Rockets, and the sky was the limit. In his first season with the Rockets, Harden produced one of the greatest statistical seasons in team history. He started all 78 games, averaging 25.9 points, 4.9 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game. Harden scored a total of 2,023 points, becoming just the 5th player in team history to reach 2,000 points in a single NBA season. He received his first All-NBA first-team selection in his second season with the Rockets after averaging 25.4 points, 6.1 assists, and 4.7 rebounds per game. In just his 3rd season, he finished 2nd in the MVP voting. The Rockets and James Harden were a match made in heaven as they were perfect for each other. In the 2016-2017 season, he took the point guard role, and in that season, James Harden led the league in assists as he averaged 11.2 assists per game and also recorded 29.1 points and 8.1 rebounds. The following season, he had an MVP season leading the league in scoring, and for the next 2 seasons, James Harden was once again the NBA scoring champ. In any case, after 9 seasons with the Rockets averaging 29.6 points on 44.3% shooting, 7.7 assists, and 6 rebounds per game, he demanded a trade, even going as far as reporting late and fat to training camp. Was he actually fat, or was he wearing a fat suit in those pictures? In less than a week after turning up to training camp late and fat, James Harden finally got his wishes as he got traded to the Brooklyn Nets. He was traded in a 4-team deal which involved the Cleveland Cavaliers, Indiana Pacers, and the Rockets. On his unveiling as a Nets player, he was quite unrecognizable to the guard that played for the Rockets in the preseason a few days earlier. He appeared to have shed almost 20 pounds in that time, which sparked speculation that Harden may have worn a fat suit on purpose during his final games with the Rockets to lower his trade value. A lot of theories were proposed at that time. One was that James Harden was looking to join a championship contending team, and because the Rockets were unwilling to comply with his demands to be traded, he had to find a way to force a trade. Moreover, when the Rockets front office finally decided to trade him, the Rockets were looking to trade him for the best potential trade offers rather than his wish. So, by appearing overweight, Harden was trying to not only facilitate his departure, but also discourage potential trade offers. After all, who wants an overweight, disgruntled player? Surprisingly, there isn't any solid proof that James Harden wore a fat suit while playing for Houston, but it is clear that he was overweight before leaving Houston and miraculously became slim after joining the Brooklyn Nets. Interestingly, another theory among NBA fans is that Harden was overweight before using a weight loss method similar to that of boxers and UFC fighters to reduce his weight. Boxers and UFC fighters are known to shed anywhere from 5 to 25 pounds for their weigh-ins a night before the fight. They do this by cutting water weight to make the stipulated weight, and just before the fight, they can recover. However, the reason they can put weight on so easily is because it's quite difficult to such low weights, but putting weight on is easier. Whatever the case, many people think James Harden actually did that. After all, he has always struggled with his weight during the offseason. He is either skinnier than usual or just evidently bigger than usual. Either way, let's look at some of James Harden's fluctuating weight incidents. James Harden weight issues. While a lot of NBA fans and analysts, including media outlets, went wild on the fat suit pictures, James Harden had posted a picture during a hike a few months earlier during the 2020 quarantine. In the picture, he appeared extremely lean, having shed tons of muscles. He looked more like a marathon runner than an NBA player, and many NBA fans were concerned if he would survive returning to the league when the NBA resumes after the quarantine. However, just a few months later, he was extremely fat. During his time with the Brooklyn Nets, he maintained his weight, and after getting traded to the Philadelphia 76ers, he finally admitted that he has been having weight issues in the past season because he has been struggling with injuries. Across 9 seasons with the Houston Rockets, James Harden played 613 of 646 possible games, but after being traded to the Nets, he missed 18 games due to injury. The 2018 NBA MVP explained that he had been heavily targeted for his weight issues these past few years, and while he has been quiet, he revealed that his injuries had a lot to play in it as he hasn't been healthy enough to put in the proper work like he used to. He even joked about losing 100 pounds so far. Whatever the case, one thing was certain. James Harden was overweight in that picture, and given his history of fluctuating weight loss and gain, he just might have mysteriously shed it in that few days before he joined the Brooklyn Nets. After all, there's no evidence that he was wearing a fat suit. Do you think James Harden was wearing a fat suit to get traded? Do you think he might use that fat suit again? Or do you believe it was just a strange coincidence or something else? Let me know in the comment section.